Alright guys, once again I'm Anthony Scarpula here live at Substratum's headquarters with their CIO Abram Cookson.
Yes.
Yes. So yeah, we just had they just hosted an amazing meetup, about 40 plus people in the community. They just chatted crypto and Substratum for about 2 hours and it was awesome. So yeah, thanks.
No problem. We had good feedback, and I think we tended to try to we dove a lot into Substratum, but we also, like I said, wanted to talk about cryptocurrency, the blockchain. We want to talk about other products in that space, other companies in that space. We want this to be a meetup for that. Substratum is just the sponsor for it.
Right.
Definitely, we encourage people to come. We will definitely have breakout sessions, not outbreaks, but breakout sessions, right? On cryptocurrency and also how our product works. We want to show demos of that, and we want to show kind of behind the scenes of stuff working, so people kind of say, oh, this is wow, because it's really hard to demo stuff that's supposed to be anonymous and run behind the scenes, right? Mm-hmm. It runs on your machine in the background, and demoing it is very difficult. So it's nice to have people actually physically here and see what we're building.
Yeah, no, this is great. I feel like a lot of crypto companies in general could really do more of this human interaction element and build the community. It's awesome. No, this is cool.
Yeah, it's hard when you look at ICOs and cryptocurrency companies, or just companies in general that are building products based on blockchain, and all you see is kind of a web page, and behind the scenes you see like anonymous Twitter accounts, and you see anonymous people that maybe it's just a picture, or it's kind of an image, and we wanted people to say, no, we want to be a real company that's building stuff and making stuff. The same way you would see a Snapchat, a Google headquarters, or a Snapchat, or a small startup that's like, hey, we're trying to get in and invade a space and be disruptive. We wanted to engage that way and not be just, hey, we're an ICO and good luck. We wanted to actually be a product company, not just a company that is doing stuff with an ICO.
And then in terms of the future meetups, are they going to be monthly?
Yeah, so
cool.
So we're going to try to do every Tuesday. We're going to try to set it up on meetup.com. This was a little informal. But our big thing is to really have a venue for people to have discussions. So we encourage the people that came to also be able to be speakers, in the event. We want to bring speakers in who are involved in blockchain, even if they're from another company that has done ICOs or has done, or maybe they're in the crypto space, right? Maybe they're investment people. Maybe they're YouTubers, or they're Facebook people, or they're just they're like people that write articles on cryptocurrency, and they want to be in that space, and they want an audience to talk to and to get interested. And the more people that we get coming to this, the bigger audience we'll have from just information perspective. Because my personal philosophy is, and this is one of the things I mentioned in our meetup today, was I'm very much about, people seem to forget the currency part of cryptocurrency, and they're treating things just like an investment. And that's great. I love that. That's fantastic. But I also would like this to, at some point in time, to be an actual currency where people can exchange, goods and services for something that can't be manipulated by a larger entity, right? And then I would love it for, I don't understand why small countries haven't adopted this as their currency adopted this as their currency, because talk about it being a game changer. We've seen, I think I just mentioned today that Dallas Mavericks, right, are going to start accepting Bitcoin. Right. That's huge. It's a huge deal, because that starts pushing it into the normal space, right, where all of a sudden it's like, hey, it kind of pushes larger entities, I won't name them specifically, Federal Reserve, out of the way, but it allows the market to determine the cost of goods and services, and not have some bigger backer manipulating that stuff, which I think is really, really good. So.
Yeah, awesome. Well, just to backtrack, a little bit, because we have 100,000 plus members in our community. I'm sure a lot of people know what Substratum is. Right. Substratum is, but there's some that might not. So if you could just give us, the elevator pitch almost of what's Substratum, what's the mission, what are you guys trying to accomplish?
So our goal is to build a decentralized web, right? Not easy. If you think about it, in reality, it's rebuilding the internet, right? How the internet works. We're still leveraging the infrastructure of the internet and the communication protocols, but we're changing the routing and the way those requests are served. And so it's not just splitting up. A lot of people think it's splitting up data. So we're doing it in 3 parts. We're doing it in a decentralized manner from a DNS perspective, a decentralized manner in a route perspective, and we call those nodes, and a decentralized part in a content perspective, which would be like hosting and things like that. The DNS perspective is we're actually splitting up the DNS across nodes, right? And actually, when you go to, and a lot of people know this, we're in the technical sector, so it may seem like I'm breaking this down, but I'm trying to make it very simple for people that are just in the financial aspect of cryptocurrency. Is when you go to a website, okay, example.com or whatever, or myawesomewebsite.com, right? You don't go to, your computer doesn't know where that is. It makes a request and says, hey, where is this? And it gets an IP back. And a lot of times other countries will poison that request, right? And say, actually, we're going to send you here, or they'll just fail that request. And so what we want to do is, the way that's handled, we want to decentralize that piece, right? So that you're asking different people, hey, where is this? Until a node goes, hey, I know where that is. I can tell you where that location is. Then the second piece, the piece we're really focusing on right now, I think this is the most essential piece for us to complete, is the routing aspect of it. Mm-hmm. And that's, what's the path to get there? So to think about it this way, for me to get from my office to, let's say, Lakeland, Florida, right, where I would have to take so many small streets, get onto a freeway, go down the freeway, get off the freeway, and do several small hops to get to that. Just like a map, right? Mm-hmm. Your computer's doing the same thing, right? It's going through these routes. Those routes are very easy to discover and determine. There's an infrastructure there in place that's doing it. What our system is doing is actually constantly changing those routes, leveraging nodes that are running kind of headless and in the background on just everything from a small, maybe laptop or Raspberry Pi. I mean, this is our goal, right? Versus where we're at now. But what we envision is these small devices routing that traffic, right? Routing those requests and looking like just normal web traffic that you can't distinguish between a VPN. Even though your data is encrypted, you know it's going from this computer to this location, right? And someone can go, I can kind of figure out who you are and where you're going, and I can shut that down.
That was going to be my next question. Okay. What's the main difference between what you guys are doing and VPNs?
Yeah. So this is, as far as anybody looking in, ISPs or whatever, they're going to look at that traffic, and our goal is they look at the traffic and they say, it just looks like normal web traffic, and it's just, hey, that we said this today as a joke, kind of like, that guy, based on this traffic, it looks like he's playing Call of Duty, and this guy looks like he's just buying something online, and it's all disguised and looking like normal web traffic, but behind the scenes, maybe a person in China is, or maybe a person in like the Middle East is trying to get to a website that has been banned in their country. And by going through these routes, constantly shifting where a larger entity, a larger body looking in on that stuff can't distinguish the traffic. It provides, I think, providing daylight for the entire world of reality where truth can be out there will make a huge difference to countries. The reward system behind that, because we also have the hosting side too, where people want to take their content, split it up to tiny pieces, and smear it across all those nodes. So it's very easily accessible. The whole reward system behind this is people allocate system resources, their machines, to be part of this. And by allocating that, they're rewarded in the cryptocurrency, right? They're kind of paid like, hey, thanks for using your machine on our network. Here's a nickel, right? Every time, here's a nickel for this request. As the value of that currency goes up, the value of those resources become more and more viable. And not only that, but people also on the network are kind of like doing the same thing of, hey, it used to be when you made a phone call, right? You went to a payphone, popped a quarter in. I'm doing the same thing of, hey, thanks for letting me use the toll, this toll road to get to where I want to go faster. Right. I'm going to go ahead and pay the $1.50 to use this faster freeway, right? Because now I have a system to get there. Because normally all the other roads are blocked and very hard to get out of. So that's kind of the method, the financial platform behind this. We have some other stuff also in the works, CryptoPay. So that's outside of, that's kind of a side thing. That's a kind of a passionate thing for me. You probably have heard Justin talk about this a little bit, but CryptoPay is, I want to be able, my final test to make this successful is I want to be able to take my phone and go over across the street. There's this really nice coffee shop here, buy a cup of coffee, and I just go bloop, and pay my transaction, and it's instantaneous, right? And then once that's done, the merchant receives the transaction, I'm done, and it's instantaneous, just the same as if I paid with a credit card or I paid with cash or anything like that.
Right.
The hard part about cryptocurrency right now is the long wait, right? Like you do a transfer and there's this delay. And we want to facilitate the tools and resources for merchants to be able to provide that to the end user, and then at the same time, we facilitate that transaction. And we have to be very strategic about how we deliver that product.
And so, once you get to that point where you go into the coffee shop and it works, right? Does the merchant need to have a kind of crypto-based POS system, or is the goal to like have it all work?
Possibly, I would love that. I would love it to be integrated, right?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
The one thing that I think we do well as a software company is we build tools that are usable for other developers, and that would be our goal. Is here's a resource to use our service. And then maybe a point of sale developer will say, hey, you know what, I'm going to integrate this into my system. And there's definitely room for things like licensing and stuff like that, leveraging the system. Mm-hmm. But making it so that as other people use the product, they just leverage our software resources to make it work for themselves. There's definitely a lot of point of sale companies I would like to help. But not only that, but just the average web retailer.
Right.
That's kind of would be our first target, I think.
Mm-hmm. Well, wasn't it Square or someone? Right?
Yep.
Square.
They're Swipe and Square and stuff like that.
Yeah, they just started accepting Bitcoin, kind of, sort of.
Yeah, yeah.
But that's a step in the right direction,
yep.
I guess.
Once it becomes adopted mainstream, I mean, I have no doubt that there'll be other players in this space, and so I want to jump ahead of it quickly. But it's not always the first person that's there. It might be the person that provides it better. I think if you can make it so that the average person who has no concept of cryptocurrency can facilitate a transaction like that, and you make it super simple, right? People don't understand when you swipe your credit card that it still takes like 2 or 3 days for the merchant to get paid, right? And that all you're doing, even that swipe doesn't always get pulled. It's the money looks like it immediately gets pulled out, but it's just a digital transaction that says the bank's doing the same thing. They're saying, hey, I've allocated this amount out of your account. That doesn't mean that the money's transferred. It just means they've pulled it out and they're putting it on hold.
Right.
And so we want to do that same thing from a cryptocurrency perspective.
Totally. I mean, that's a great point, because personally, I don't understand the technology behind a magnetic stripe on the back of a credit card and a little square in the pit. You don't need to know that. All you need to know is how it works and that it works.
Yeah.
So once crypto hits that point, which are probably like a year, hopefully away, within that next year, that's going to be huge.
Yeah, you'll just see it on your phone. You'll say, hey, that's good.
Cool. And then I want to backtrack just a little bit to like the nodes and the privacy aspect a little bit more. So, does it cost any money to host or run the node?
No. So right now it's having a node. We want everybody to use it, right? And in fact, the encouragement, the goal, right? This is the initial goal, is to have people make money off running the node. Right. We want them to run the node almost kind of in the background. Think of it as, so your person at home would be like a low tier, but still they're valuable in the system, right? They're maybe, and I'm using this as an example. We definitely have to look at pricing models and things like that. But think of it this way: hey, I run this node in the background at my house. I pay for my ISP bill. Right? I have a really good. I've just upgraded my ISP service because why? Because my node pays for that for me. So I get free internet. The ISP is still making money, right? Because I'm paying them, but I'm also providing a service to other people in my network. Just forget about the censorship side. Just look at it from an availability side. I'm not leveraging resources of a massive server farm. I just have guy A here who's a node, and maybe he's got a little piece of data on a system, such as I'm going to get a little technical here, a CSS file. Right, so like a jQuery type call. Well, guess what? That jQuery type call is right here on this little box. Right, the guy in the house next to me, I'm getting hit right from there. That's great. That transaction's super seamless, right? The other thing too is not just from from that transaction from a cost perspective, but there may be some bigger facilities like ISPs. If I'm, or a hosting company, let's say I'm a large hosting company, I have like 200 servers, and you probably heard me talk back there about that too. I'm paying a lot of money and a lot of resources to electricity. I'm constantly replenishing my supply of servers and that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. I want to be able to make money off idle boxes, because those idle boxes don't make me any money right now, and I have to have them there and running because I may have a client that scales up during Christmas. Maybe during Christmas time they get so much retail business they scale up like 3 or 4 servers and then they scale back down.
Right.
During the rest of that time, those things, I make a ton of money, but those things just sit idle and they're a cost to me. They're an expense. Why not have those be nodes as well? They'll get rewarded at another tier level, right? Where all of a sudden it's like, guess what? I've paid my electric bill for my giant server farm, and I've paid my cooling unit and my, all my security and all that kind of stuff. I paid my staff just in idle servers,
right?
Yeah,
so you guys aren't going to be totally disruptive to the cloud computing world as it is, because like you just said, they could profit off of the outdated, which is weird because it, like you were saying earlier, it lasts 2 years for like their servers.
Yeah, I build a server, and guess what? In 2 years, it's like, oh, that's an old server.
Right.
It's just like us PC master race guys that are like gamers. Like, oh, I got this awesome, P4 chip, and guess what? In like 2 months, it's like, oh, that's an old chip.
Yeah, or like iPhones every year.
Oh, iPhones, yeah, I know.
But yeah, that's awesome. And then so obviously the pricing and all that isn't figured out yet, but say I'm just me at home with my MacBook. If you could throw a guesstimate, like in terms of how much sub just through running the node that would generate maybe per month.
I have no clue, because let's just take sub from a fiat currency standpoint. Sub right now is just sub, right? Mm-hmm, yeah. If the crypto pay stuff is working, then it doesn't matter because it's cryptocurrency and the value is intrinsic in what the value of the product is.
Right.
However, let's just throw out an example of. I think a good success in this is the resources that I've allocated for my small laptop, or maybe a Raspberry Pi, which would be really cool if I can have a couple Raspberry Pis.
Yeah,
but providing that routing system there, maybe it would cover the cost of your cable bill.
That's great.
And
that's
for a person that's just trying to, just say, hey, guess what? I just paid for my internet's free now.
Yeah,
why? Because of that. So that's not a guarantee or anything,
right.
But that's what I would think I would envision, is reimbursing the cost of using the internet that you're already paying for. Right? And then at the same time, speeding, like facilitating getting data to people faster, which the ISP might be like, oh, good, you don't have to route all that traffic through me. It just goes right to here. It still has to go through that route, but here's a shorter, here's shorter travel time.
And then to kind of get the whole benefit of the privacy aspect of sub and what you're building, like, do you have to run the node, or is that kind of one and the same?
So you have to run the node,
right,
to be in the network and get the privacy.
Okay, gotcha.
Right?
Yeah.
Now, you don't have to, you can use whatever browser you want. It runs in the background on your system. And not only that, you still surf the web just the way you've always surfed. A lot of people will look at, there's existing products, which I'm not trying to bash other products. I want everybody to be in the space, and I want other companies to succeed in this. It's like a race to the moon, right? I want everybody to make it to the moon, in a actually like rocket to the moon sense, not in a crypto. I just realized what I said there.
Not a telegram kind of way.
Yeah. But what I mean is I want the space race to be in the cryptocurrency world, but also from a new decentralized web platform. There's other people that are definitely trying this. I want everybody to be successful in it. But as far as from a security standpoint, our biggest thing is going to be allowing that. Allowing someone to be able to use the web, just as we don't want to re-educate people like, oh, you've got to use this browser, or you've got to change the URL to be in this path, or you've got to do this extra step that you're just not. We're just programmed to do things a certain way. We don't want to remove that aspect of it. So we just kind of want it to run in the background,
right?
For the end user.
So it kind of just be like an app that you download, and then it'd be.
Yeah, just almost like
at the top of like the dock.
Might be a tray icon, maybe one, but it's very system level. This is not like a desktop app. It's not going to be like
it's not gobbling up your CPU.
Slack or Oh wow, I just dated myself. I almost said AOL Instant Messenger. Wow, that was way back.
It's not
wow.
AIM.
Yeah. It's not AIM, or it's not it's not it's not like a game that sits on your desktop and runs, or it's not something that it's very system level. We're writing this in Rust, and we're writing this in kind of lower level languages that we want it to be cross-platform, and we will have an interface for it. It's going to be very minimal at first. I mean, it's going to be like
off on.
Yep, that's it. Turn it on, turn it off.
Yeah.
But we want to provide APIs, especially from an open source perspective, for developers to write really cool feedback tools. Like, hey, your node's running, and guess how many transactions you passed through today, and people can see the charts and the bars and all that kind of stuff.
That's
and
cool.
We definitely also want them, as we start introducing the payment model into it, seeing like, well, how much sub did I earn today? That'd be pretty cool to see that kind of stuff too.
Yeah, totally.
The problem that we have, people forget this, is there's a
Are you going to shut things down, or should I shut things down?
I'll shut them down.
Okay. See you.
We'll see you later. One of the things we're definitely going to do is, what we've been doing right now is testing and logging. We absolutely do not want to log stuff across the network, because the moment we log things across the network, our network can be found out and attacked, right? And especially from a logging perspective, but we want to be able to let people see data transfer, and that's what makes our testing really hard, because we actually have to get on the phone with people and call them and have them tell us what they see
Around
sometimes.
the world, right?
Yeah, remotely. We talked to a person, I think it was in Australia, and they were like, I can't see anything, what's going on? And we're like, we don't understand, everything's working. And then we realized that UDP routing is very regional, right? We talked about that today at our meetup, is that ISPs do, and hosting platforms and companies do things differently with routing, and it might be by region and language and stuff like that. So we had to work on some stuff a little bit, and all of a sudden it's, hey, this is working now. And so we actually have to physically get on the phone and say, hey, do you see anything, and that kind of stuff. I would say the minimal thing someone have to do if they say, I don't want to install a node or anything, it is possible, I think, for someone to just change their DNS to RDNS. The problem is once they start pointing that DNS at the same place all the time, once that's solid, unless they're constantly rotating the DNS IP address, it would get found out. They'd be like, hey, there's a reason they're going here. From just the DNS perspective. With the node, it just looks like normal internet traffic. That you can't distinguish it from anything else.
I mean, it's free, so I don't see any. If you know about Substratum and you're in the know enough, like, why would you not just download it?
Download it, install it. Yep.
And is it ever going to be? Is there going to be like paid tiers eventually, where there's like other features, or is it always just going to be free? And
don't know. It's
it's
really it's.
Can't say. Yeah.
We got to let the market and we got to let the community drive that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I definitely see people, think about like distributed apps and things like that, and websites. People wanting to say, hey, you know what? I don't want to pay for this hosting platform that I only scale at certain times, or I want to alleviate the static data on my system. There's several. A lot of people seem to think that like this is the like you could just build this in a couple months, and it's not. But one thing we definitely want to get across is, we have the intention of doing things like databases and stuff like that. That's a big vision, right? That's far ahead. First, let's get the nodes working the right way, and then we can get into the database aspect of things.
Right. And is there going to be a mobile component to it as well?
I'd love it, but
is that a whole other can of worms? Or?
The problem with mobile is it's a closed system, right? So this phone right here is a closed system. I have to get approval to put something on here. Otherwise, the only other way around that is jailbreaking this, right? To put data on here.
Yeah.
Now, will this work from if I'm on a Wi-Fi? Absolutely, that'd be cool. I could put this from a Wi-Fi perspective, but I don't want to do this from if I'm on a 4G network. It could probably be, it wouldn't be discovered. But if we're constantly I think the only way you could do that is you would have to somehow configure the DNS on this to work with a node. I mean, I could build node software to run on this, but it's going to be approved by Apple or approved by Google. Yeah.
And they don't.
And I'm sure they would be like, absolutely. Yeah, you can hide data. Now, the other thing I joked about too is if you're going to try to use this as a node, the battery in there might get. It might not be processor heavy, but if I got like, I'm just routing all my web traffic through that phone, you're kind of, like that's gonna be a little little toasty, warm, warm phone you got there.
Have you heard of Siren Labs?
No, I haven't. No.
They just finished an ICO recently, but they generated a ton of money just to basically build the first blockchain-powered cell phones.
Oh, I love it.
I thought that might be a cool little. I'm sure they'd be more open than Apple.
I want a cell phone that is.
They're based off Android though.
Okay.
So I don't know if they still would have.
I want a cell phone that's modular. I want to say, I want to upgrade my camera, the same way I do my PC. This is I've seen one where they had kind of a board that you assembled and put your phone together, and that was your phone. If someone can get that to market,
that's cool.
Where it's like, I want to trade out my screen for a higher resolution.
Different cameras or different.
You know what? I want a different encasing, or I want a different this, and they can just build their phone and constantly upgrade pieces and parts. I want to put in a new processor. Sign me up, right?
I could see that, in another few years. But one of the last questions I had is obviously what you guys are doing is incredible, but it's also going to be disruptive to the status quo of the China government and other entities like them. So you already touched upon this during the meetup, but for the viewers, what are you doing to kind of protect yourself from potential Chinese hacker attacks that are trying to take you guys down for doing what you're doing, basically freeing up the internet?
So the first thing we're doing is disguising. Someone should be, and I hate to use this term because someone should be able to like come in and shut down the building, right? Like they say, we've recommended to the U.S. government to come in and shut down the Substratum building. So they come in here and they do the Ghostbuster thing. They just shut it all down, right? And guess what happened? The Substratum network should still be running. Like that's the level that we're getting to, where it just runs and you can't stop it. It just runs, right? Once it's there, it's out in the network, and you've got all these independent machines just kind of facilitating data. One of the things we're definitely doing is we are an ISP or a government should not be able to look at the data traveling through the network and distinguish it from anything else, right? As far as they know, like I said earlier, that guy's playing Call of Duty. This guy's on a RPG game. This guy is chatting over a messenger service. This person's using Skype. They can only see the pattern of data that's available, and kind of compare it to other patterns of data. And it's so random. It's constantly it's a mesh network, but it's constantly redirecting all the time that it can't be distinguished. So we're trying to, by doing that, it prevents the system from being poisoned. The other thing too is if you kind of look at our course network stuff, Dan did a great presentation from a technical presentation, kind of showing the code to people today. You only know the person closest to you, right? Like your system only knows temporarily. We call those neighborhoods. Your system wakes up and says, "Hey, here I am," and a couple people go, "Hey," the nodes go, "Hey, I'm here. You can talk to me," and the person says, "Well, I'm making a request," and so it makes a request to another node. Those nodes know, well, you came from here, and I'm just going to hand it to this guy, and then it knows nothing after that. It's ignorant of the transaction, and it's gone, right? There's no traceability there whatsoever. So even if I get into that node in some way and try to change the code or intercept the data, it doesn't do anything for me because it's encrypted and it's packaged and it's sent along the way. Mm-hmm. The other thing we're doing too, I'm going to give you some insider info here, is people can say, well, I'm just going to rechange the source code and put this poisoned node on my system, right? By leveraging the blockchain, your versions as they are released will compare with the other nodes and say, hey, is this the real node? Am I talking to a real node? And it's like, well, based on the blockchain, it's not. And when there's a change in that blockchain, in that encrypted key, right, that you see, it's going to compare that to the other key and go, you're not using a real node, and it just ignores it, and it will put it on a blacklist and say that, it won't put it on a blacklist so much as it will say it in our gossip, in our gossip protocol of like, that guy's not reliable, and then another guy go, that guy's not reliable, and kind of push it away.
Toss out the club.
Yep.
Yeah. Wow,
and then,
that's cool.
So there's a way to leverage the blockchain to ensure that someone can't inject their version of the node into the system and then spread that across, right?
Awesome. And, I know you guys already touched upon this too during the meetup, and I'm just going to try and be the voice of the people that are anxious to know when the beta is and be that person. And obviously you're not going to tell us an exact date because that's what you said earlier, but
Yeah.
I don't know if you could speak to that in any regard.
So, yeah, one of the things we're definitely getting into is there's been a lot of confusion, and we're going to show this in a demo, but I'm going to give a more insider info a little bit. There's been a lot of confusion with alpha and beta, and there's this concept, I think, that when you're in alpha, you just immediately do beta, and then in a couple weeks, it's like full version product, right? We're totally focused on nodes, and there could be we ran tests, and we did alpha, and then we had this bigger version that we built, and we kind of slated it in half, and we called it Alpha 2, and then that got misconstrued, by other people as, oh, well, that means beta, and that means Alpha 2, and that means this, and even in our own communication, it's not intentional, and it's not malicious, it's just, we some of our people work remote, and then there's communication back and forth. We just got to be better at communicating that. So we're going to change the way we release our info. And what we're going to do is we're starting to, and Justin's going to kill me on this because it's behind the scenes, but we are going to start doing kind of release version numbers. And by doing release versions, people can see an incremental build. Because what may be to the end user Alpha 1 and what may be beta, between there might be like 6 different changes to the code base, right? Mm-hmm. And so we want to say, we're on version 0.4, we're on 0.4.1, the way normal software
iOS
companies...
like 10.1,
yes.
10.2 until it builds. Yeah.
Until we get to a 1.0, what we consider an MVP stage. And so by not only doing an incremental value of that, but also attaching feature information to it. So our delivery model is not, hey, we're gonna throw a dart on a board and try to make an educated guess of when we're gonna rebuild the entire internet and look way off into the future and say our target date is Q3 2018. Okay, that's not our target date. I'm just saying that's what's out. I'm just giving that as an example. And then rushing to try to get to that date. Instead, what we're going to do is we want to release so often, and I tell this to people, when is Spotify's next release? You don't know. When is Snapchat's next release? You don't really dig into that, especially like IDEs, companies that build products for developers like IntelliJ. They do a really good job on saying, hey, guess what? You wake up in the morning and you look at your phone and you open your favorite app and you go, oh my gosh, they updated my app, and it says, here's the new features that we did, right? You didn't even know it happened, it just happened, and that's the way we want to deliver the software. Where we're at right now is we have to perfect the node piece first. And there's the hard part about the cryptocurrency world is there's this kind of I gotta have it now mentality where it's the people are very used to fast reward for very short short term.
People want their Lambos.
Yeah. They, I put my money into crypto and it gained 6,000% in a week, and so there's this expectation of I get instant coffee, I get instant food, I get instant gratification of everything, and there's like, well, all the stuff that gave that to you, which was the internet and technology, took years to build.
Decades.
Right?
Yeah.
So the fact that we actually formed this team in November, we had the ICO team. I helped Justin a little. Justin's a man with ICOs. I mean, he is very good, super passionate about this project, very excited about it. And, and he's kind of leaned on me to be like, hey, help deliver this, right? So there's pressure on me. I want to deliver this I want to deliver it for our team. But the team here formed in November, and we already got a test out there where someone in Australia or someone in Greece is like, oh my gosh, I can see the Substratum network. They can see something. Like, we showed it to them. We routed that. Right. It was a very simple test. And then now we're in the middle of we're building this huge chunk, and now we're cutting it in half, right? And we're delivering that. And then we're doing another half and cutting half. So I think by doing the incremental increases, people can see, okay, I see they're getting closer. They're on version 0.6. Mm-hmm. Oh, they jumped to 0.78. Oh, they're on 9.0, right? Okay, guess what? 1.0. Here's the version release. Right. And then after that, once we kind of establish that, here's 1.0, got a lot of thumbs up, I think we're going to get into, okay, guess what? Open source. Now here's that piece of open source. I definitely think once the viability of the nodes are there, and we see like this is a really tangible, usable product that is kind of free from poison and injection and hacking and that kind of stuff, like it's very stable, then we put the open source out there and we let the community like contribute to that. And we're gonna, we would definitely try to establish a team of people to facilitate that open source aspect of doing pull requests and things like that, and contribute, adding contributors to it. I want to leverage the technical community to add to it. You know what I mean? To add to the product. So.
Awesome.
If that answers your question of when beta, right? When's beta? Where people are like, the concept of beta is because, and it makes total sense to me. I understand someone wants to run their PHP MySQL app tomorrow on the decentralized web. That's absolutely fantastic. That's a huge thing in its own, and we want to get there, but we have to deliver Node first successfully, because hosting, I actually think hosting's a little simpler in aspect, like you're serving up web requests. I've done that several times in my life, but you're serving up, you have a web server basically that's serving up content. I think the distributed part of it's tough, but the actual Node piece, if that is not successful, then it doesn't matter how awesome host is.
Right.
Because if the decentralized piece doesn't work, if the node routing stuff, it's pointless, right? So we have to build a really sweet engine before we make the Lamborghini look totally cool. Like we have to like get in, and engineers are perfecting the performance rate of that engine to make sure it is so smooth, and we're talking millimeters of accuracy, right? Before we get into look at these awesome leather seats and look at this cool steering wheel and all that kind of stuff, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally. I mean, back to the instant gratification point,
Yeah.
I really think the crypto community as a whole, myself included, we could all learn a bit more patience with it, because, yeah, like I got into the space back in October, and I was blessed by all these green arrows shooting up, and I thought it was going to be this eternal joyride to the moon,
and then
it crashed.
January,
Yeah, then January happened.
came.
So I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Oh, what? I can't make 3,000% every day?
But no, I just think that's a great point, because this is your job. Like, this is what you're committing your life to, and it takes time. Like, yeah, you're trying to rebuild the web. Like, let's learn some patience and let you guys do it right, and then once it's ready, and then we'll celebrate.
And we're definitely trying to be very open on here's how it works. Like, we started talking technical today, and we stray this line because there's a lot of people that are very technically savvy that we want to give information to and get them, but we got to figure out what audience wants. There's people that are like, just tell me when you're live, right? Or just tell me when the product works. And I see those people sometimes as people that just want to like make a profit,
mooch,
right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, so I'm not a fan of insider trading, right? I'm not a fan of, because we get really mad at the government, right? When some politician knows when some big corporation's gonna get like audited, or when something bad happened, or they know what's going on with the trades and the SEC and that kind of stuff, and they get that insider info, and suddenly you always find it funny where our politicians are paid very little money, but they go to Congress and then they come out millionaires. Isn't that funny how that works? And we get really mad at that, but yet here are people that are in like this crypto industry that are getting in, and like you have a new person, like my next door neighbor got into crypto. Like I kind of showed it to him. He got in to sub at like, I think it was 50 cents or something like that. And he was just, he didn't want to just buy sub, he wanted to understand cryptocurrency, and he got into it. He was like, this is really cool, you like this. Well, I could go in and be like, yeah, man, buy some more sub, knowing that maybe we'll have bad news or it will go down. I'm just giving this as an example. And I know that we're going to throw some poison out there to drop that currency price. I just did insider trading for myself and kind of hosed my neighbor. I don't want to do that to my neighbor, let alone anybody else. So I definitely want to make an announcement. We definitely want to just say, here's the product, here's the product, here's the product. And when people get it, the people that held on long term are the people that are rewarded the most, versus the guy that's sitting there saying, give me a date because I'm going to set my sale date, and do that kind of stuff, right? Yeah. But I do also want to appease the people. The goal of this is not to facilitate making a boatload of money for the currency, as much as it also is, we want to get the product right for the people that need the product, and we want to make money at that. At the end of the day, if everybody's making sub, it doesn't matter what the price of that sub is, the price will constantly fluctuate with people using the system.
Yeah, totally. I want to dive a little bit more into the privacy stuff, just a little bit, just for selfish, down with the man reasons. Because I don't want the NSA peeping on me no matter what I'm doing,
Right.
If you're running a sub node, are you pretty much invisible to them?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yep. Yeah, that's the goal.
Peace, guys.
The goal is to be anonymous, and that's what makes testing this hard, because we're building something that we can't see. What I mean by that is the transactions are not something that we can trace. So we have to use a lot of internal tools, right? We have to use boxes stood up and emulating their own little VPN networks and emulating multiple. We have like one machine and it's emulating different virtual boxes and then talking to each other. Like because we can read all those, right? But once we put that out into the real world, I can't go look at that guy. Like we have to like interact with people on that system, and so that's why it's hard to test first. But definitely we've ran some tests and we like it, and the people giving us feedback are. It's funny when you see a person with like, oh my gosh, I see the website. They're very excited about it, right? So.
Yeah, totally. I mean, just to try and wrap it up, besides the ongoing monthly Columbus, Ohio meetups, are you guys going to be at any other blockchain or crypto expos in the next few months?
I think we're looking at going at some. Gonna avoid Hong Kong right now. Not that I don't mind it. I'm just gonna kind of steer around that. Justin definitely proposed some to us. I think we're gonna look at them. We definitely want to shape our message to be clear. Like I'm really working on how do I explain what Substratum is in less than 30 minutes, right? We just did a Code Mash, which is a huge Midwest developer conference. It wasn't cryptocurrency based, but right next to us was another group of people that we kind of knew that are doing like machine learning. Like what a great group of people to meet. Like here's a team doing machine learning, and then here's us doing, Substratum, the decentralized internet. What a great partnership right there. And not only that, we were like, I think we gave away 2,000 t-shirts.
Nice.
And everybody was wearing our t-shirt the next day, and so we're just kind of spreading that message a little bit. So it's good from getting a marketing standpoint from brand name recognition, right? But we also got quizzed a lot. We had a lot of developers just sit there and we had some old hat guys come in and look at us and go, okay, explain this more. Explain this. Well, what are you going to do about this? And what are you going to do about this? And kind of making us go, oh my gosh, we've got to get a clear message out there. So.
Right, because you're addressing a wide spectrum of the community, right? Like the people that are in it for the privacy. There's the people that just want to profit, which we'll leave you guys over there. and
we want
enterprises.
I want people to profit. I want people to make money. I'm all about the free market, man. Yeah. But I want equal opportunity for all the players in the market, right? Not just outcome for the guys that have the backdoor knowledge.
Yeah,
right?
Totally. Well, talking about insider trading, there's a cool ICO that just wrapped up called the Pareto Network, and they created not a social media platform by any means, but basically a way to turn insider trading on its head and make it public, at least for crypto.
Right.
It's not like they're like people within the companies dishing out info, but it's kind of like, hey, if you have a lot of really good high intel stuff, you could put it on the platform, and people could pay you using their tokens, and then.
Oh yeah,
so it's kind of cool.
I really think that over the course of the next couple of years, we're going to get a lot smarter from a cryptocurrency standpoint, and starting to self-regulate, not government regulate, but as an industry say, let's do this with a little bit more integrity, and say, guess what? We have a way to validate something, right? So the nice part about the blockchain is, and the nice part about cryptocurrency, it's very open to the public, right? Which is funny, it's very open, but it's also very anonymous, right? You can do a lot of manipulation and hiding of stuff. And I think what we want to do is say, let's provide tools and resources. And there's going to be other companies out here that are going to do a great job at this. I'm not saying we're going to be the only ones. I think there'll be some smart people that will sit down and say, how do we make our platform how do we add integrity to what we do, right, when we deliver something? I think Google's original, motto was don't be evil, and that was their first thing, right? Their first thing was don't be evil, and I'm like, that's very good, right? That's a very good good thing. It was, hey, let's just do for the good, right? It's debatable, you know, where they're at now, especially with like poor YouTubers are getting like hammered, you know, with just people in there just saying, yeah, and block them, right? You know, there's a lot of money being given to Google from big players, right?
Yeah.
And so I definitely think the nice part about the decentralized aspect of cryptocurrency is the market will regulate itself, and the users, like really genius people and really smart engineers will come up with a way to say, well, here's how we make it better, and here's how we make it better, and it can't be influenced on the outside, and that's the goal, I hope, right?
Yeah.
So I don't mind holding $100 bills, but I'd rather just go bloop.
Yeah, totally. Awesome, man. Well, is there anything else you feel like you want to share about Sub or in general?
No, just kind of tell people about it. That's the big thing. Just talk to people about it. If someone comes in and like hammers on you, and especially if you're a Sub person, like here's what I say: like, don't talk bad about other companies, right? Don't spend your time trying to feed people, like we call it feed the trolls, right? Mm-hmm. Do your best to live with integrity. That's it. If you live with integrity and you talk, if you speak the truth and just speak to what you're building and just tell people the truth, man, you live just like you live this great life. And so trust me, I'm one who knows there's a lot of companies out there that will, or there's people that are maybe investors that come in and try to attack you and stuff like that. And like, just let them, you know what I mean? Just absolutely let them come in. You know, if you need your space, and what I mean by that is if you need your space to discuss things because you're trying to have an open discussion, like create forums for that. Like we have a Slack channel, or you know, we have there's if people want to go talk garbage about other companies or our company or something like that. There's a whole bunch of websites out there to just go and do that. Like
right.
Absolutely do that. I choose to not take part of it. I want to live with integrity a little bit. But also, not only that, I want to, you know, if you need your space, go ahead and make your space and let your community work within itself and just kind of keep those people out to build to understand how your product works, right? Because these are the people using the product as my community. Someone coming in to just be like, man, you know, this is all vaporware and stuff like that, you know, because I built this whole office and hired all these people and put them on payroll and I come here to write code every day and I have, you know, thousands of commits on our code for vaporware. You know what I mean?
This is real.
Yeah, this is not even real. I always joke about that where I'm like, for a person that's pulling a scam, I'm spending a lot of money. You know, I have a health insurance policy. Like we pay our people health insurance,
nice.
Right? And our developers are not anonymous. There's some that have chosen to be anonymous, and we want them to be. It's their choice. Mm-hmm. But a lot of them are just like love to write code and are just really good at what they do. And so, you know, we're like, go for it. You know, just interact with the community. But we also tell them like, hey, try not to engage with people coming after you. I just let them go.
So to make a really bad pun, you could say that ethos is the subway.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, the subway. There you go. Yep.
I see a marketing partnership room. Jared's walking in right now.
No, not him.
All right, man. Well, to recap again, guys, here at Substratum, just chatted it up with the CIO, Abram Cookson.
Yep.
Thank you so much for your time.
Oh,
man.
no problem.
Yeah,
thanks for coming to visit. And,
yeah.
You know, like I said, we'll do this again next time.
Cool.
Awesome. All right.
Sweet.